Veggies. So today we're going into the kitchen, and it's been kind of a minute since I had a Tasty Tuesday, but we are here for it today, and it's kind of a little bit harder to film them in my mom's kitchen where there's lots of people here, but when I get into our new house, then you'll have a lot of Tasty Tuesdays, okay? Because I like to cook, and I like to cook. I've never said that sentence in my life before. I like to eat, and I'm getting into cooking. And so anyways, I really wanted to share with you guys one of my favorite meals. It is actually something I eat every single day, okay? Like, I don't skip a day. If I go out for lunch, I'm eating it for dinner. If I go out for dinner, I'm eating it for lunch. Like, every day of my life, I eat this. And I usually make it about once a week or once every like 10 days. I just make a huge batch of it, and I just throw it in the fridge so it's ready to go. And I really like having it on hand because when I'm hungry, if I don't have something already made, then I'm just gonna eat snacks or whatever is there. So this way, when it's already made, it's prepared, and I have something to just reach for when I'm starving. So what are we making? We're making quinoa with squash and zucchini with fresh mozzarella. So it's pretty simple. I like pretty bland food, so there's a lot you can do with this base, but I'm just going to show you the easy base, and sometimes what I'll do is I'll have that and maybe add some tomato sauce to it or some other type of sauce, add different seasonings. So this is a great base, and then you can spice it however you like depending on what your palate is, or if you want to use it as a side along with your protein. If you want to have some meat with it, that's totally a great option too. But I'm a vegetarian, so there is no meat in this dish, but it is great for every family, all taste buds, from people who like bland all the way to spicy. It's just a foundation, okay? And it's so much better because you're not eating pasta. So for me, I used to have the same meal with pasta, and it's totally great to substitute if you're a pasta lover and you don't like quinoa. You can also use rice for it, whatever you like, but I found that quinoa is a protein, so I really enjoy it. I don't feel heavy or bloated after I eat it like I do with pasta. So we make the quinoa. It's super easy to make and pretty affordable. And then I personally love squash and zucchini, but you can make any vegetable you want. And I found that fresh mozzarella just ties everything together. I don't know, I used to always like melt cheese, and that is not it. But if you guys want to see how I make my favorite meal that's super simple, super quick, and great for meal prepping, then keep on watching. Before you start, you're going to want to put your pans on the heat and then pour a generous amount of olive oil all over to allow enough time for your oil and your pans to get hot. You're going to begin by cutting off the top and the bottom of the squash and the zucchini, and then you're going to slice it circular ways, almost like chips, and you want to do it pretty thin. The thinner that it is, the squishier and softer they're going to be. The thicker the pieces are, the crunchier they're going to be. So depending on what you like, you know how thick to cut your slices. I like to make a whole bunch at once, so I do 3 squash and 3 zucchini at once. So then you're just going to continue to cut all of the ones that you're going to do. A regular portion, you could just do 1 of each, but I like to do 3 so that way it lasts me all week. After I finish slicing each squash or zucchini, I then take all of the slices and put them into a bowl to get them out of the way and to keep it all organized. I also break up any pieces that may be slightly stuck together. Once they're all chopped and the pans are hot, then I just take some slices and sprinkle them all over the hot oil. I make sure every single slice is touching the pan so that they each cook. If they are not touching the pan, they will not cook properly. I like to use multiple pans so that I can do a big batch at once and it goes faster. Usually by the time I get all 3 full of vegetables, the first one is ready to go, so there's no waiting time. Just by looking at them, you can't tell that they're done. You have to go in, I like to use with tongs, and just flip them over. When they have that dark brown caramel looking color, that's how I know that they're done. If you like them a little bit crunchier or more raw tasting, then you can do them like this right here and make them a little bit lighter. but when they get darker, they just become more cooked and soft, and I think that personally it tastes better. You can then go in and look at the bottom side of each one, use the tongs to remove them one by one. This way you can really customize it in case your pan cooks unevenly, so you can get the middle ones off that cook faster and let the other ones last on the pan a little bit longer. Or you can just take the whole pan and dump all of them out at once if you're not as concerned about each one having the same exact cook. A telltale sign to know that they're done is when they squeeze like this and they're easy to bend. The nice thing about individually taking them out is that you can get the ones that are cooking faster or that you sliced thinner if you didn't slice all of them perfectly like me, and then you can leave the thicker ones on for longer. Those little ones taste like chips. They are perfect. The thinner, the better. Then I take the remainders and I just dump those out. The first two batches I pour into a glass container because I'm going to store them, and then the last batch I do, I put into a bowl to eat. I pour more olive oil into the pan, and yes, it causes a lot of smoke, but if you don't have enough oil, then the vegetables lose their moisture and don't get that squishy texture that I love. I buy the 16-ounce organic white quinoa. It's the perfect amount to meal prep. It will last me about a week, 7 to 10 meals, so I just use the entire bag. I start putting this onto the oven on my last round of vegetables, so it's ready to go by the time my vegetables are done cooking. If you wanted to buy a different size bag, or you just wanted to make enough for a meal or two, I would suggest just using 1 cup. For the meal prepping, I use 2.5 cups, which is the full 16 ounces. But if you just wanted to do a single serving, then I would just do 1 cup of quinoa. Then you're gonna add double the amount of water. So when I do the 16 ounces, I add 5 cups of water, but for a single serving, you would do 2 cups of water to your 1 cup of quinoa. Then you're gonna turn your stove to high and put your pot with the water and the quinoa onto it and let it go until it's boiling. Once it's nice and bubbly and boiling, then you're going to come in with a lid and just put it on top. You'll know it's done when all of the water's gone. Then I just take it and pour it into a big container, and then I'm going to serve myself from that all week. The most important part is to have fresh mozzarella. I like the pre-sliced ones from Costco, and then I just slice them into little cubes. I like 3 to 4 pieces depending on how much I put into my bowl. This is the thickness they should be. The usual circle can get about 5 pieces, and then I go back through 2 more times to get perfect little cubes. This is going to be vital to getting the perfect bite. Once you have a hot bowl of your vegetables and your quinoa, you're going to take your olive oil and you're gonna pour that all over to make sure all of your dish is moist. Then you're just gonna add some salt. Then you're gonna stir all the vegetables, quinoa, oil, and salt together to make sure that your flavors are evenly dispersed. Then to top it off, you will go in with your cheese cubes and put them on top. You do not want to stir them in though, because you don't want the heat from the rest of the food to make your cheese hot. You want to make sure it's cold even when you're heating it up. You don't want it to get hot because it will get tacky and not yummy anymore. And that's it. You are done. When heating it up, put some vegetables in your bowl and then put however much quinoa you want. It does get pretty hard in a clump, so then before you heat it up, just smush it down with your fork. It comes apart really easily, but that way it will cook evenly in the microwave. I like to put it in the microwave just for a minute to a minute and a half. That should get it nice and toasty. All right, here we go. So this is what it looks like. It basically has a layer of the fresh cheese. As I said in the video, you don't want to mix in the cheese because it will change the consistency and it won't be as fresh. So the quinoa and the vegetables mixed in with that layer of cheese on top, and I am so excited to dig in. Even though I eat this every day, every time I eat it, I'm still just as excited. It is honestly my favorite meal, and I love how simple it is. I can just run downstairs, throw it in the microwave for a minute, and be ready to go. And then once a week, when I make 4 zucchini and 4 squash and 3 times the amount of quinoa I need, I'd say usually it will take me about 15 to 20 minutes to make my big batch once a week. Still super quick. Usually for recipes, you're spending 20-30 minutes a night. So it is so simple. I'm obsessed, but let's take a bite. If you guys listen to my podcast, The Peachy Point, then you would know one of the 10 things that bring me joy is getting a perfect bite. So to get that, you need to make sure you have your squash and zucchini and some quinoa, and then 1 of the cubes of cheese. All right, let's see. I honestly don't think that I will ever get tired of this. I just feel like it just has all the different flavors. Like the cheese is the freshness, and then the vegetables are like juicy and soft and delicious, and that's why I cook them a little bit darker, because if you cook them for less amount of time, they'll still be very crunchy, and I really like them soft, and I just think it makes the texture in my mouth better. And then the quinoa, it's not like super chewy and starchy and heavy like I feel like a pasta would be. So it's just really balanced. Sometimes quinoa can be a little dry, but the olive oil really makes it moist. The salt is perfect. Again, as I said at the beginning, you can totally add sauce to it instead, or different spices if you want it a little bit spicier. If you want to make it more Italian or Mexican, you can totally do that with the spices. It'd also be really great if you added chicken on top if you like animal protein. There's just so many things to do with it. I'm obsessed, so I actually want to go so I can eat this while it's hot. But if you guys like this video, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. And if you try it at home, leave in the comments what you thought or any recommendations you have. If you like this video, don't forget to hit subscribe down below to see more of me, and I'll see you next week. Bye guys!
2 seconds later.
I love a gremlin. Okay.